see everybody here. And if you'd like to collage with us, please do so. Get busy with any paper you have, scissors, glue, etc. I already noticed a few people just now kind of got scissors ready to work with. So yeah, reuse, repurpose, remake, redo. Let your unconscious guide you into in your making, and see what happens. I've got my glue here at a ready.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to our World Collage Day talk. So the first thing that we're going to do is Roelof is going to say hi and tell us a little bit about what he does and where we first met.
Hi there. Yes, I am Roelof. My full name is Roelof Bakker. I'm a Hastings-based artist, exploring the potential of storytelling, and I experiment with historical and contemporary photographic processes. I write and I make and publish books through my press, Negative Press London. My work responds to contemporary social issues and to historical events, often through the lens of the lived experience. And for each project that I kind of experiment with different processes to look for a unique process and form that enhances the message of the project. And most of my output is in the form of a book, artist book. Violence is a theme I explore throughout my work, with recent work addressing the impact of climate collapse and pollution, as in my collage collaboration with Sarah. A few of my books, Some Queer Animals, which was published in 2023, is a local response to the global loss of 70% of wildlife in the last 50 years. And the book shows life-size photograms, cyanotype portraits of British wildlife killed on roads or found dead in the landscape. And I recorded these individual animal beings during walks in and around one English village. And the process of making uses care as activism. With this work, I propose a mutually caring relationship with wildlife and nature, to nurture, not to destroy. And I kind of work in the field without a camera, and I kind of see that as a queering of wildlife photography, i.e. being in the field, reducing the distance between animal being and human being without the obstruction of equipment. Other recent books include 18 Years Old, which I published last year, and it's a recollection of a queer bashing attempt when I was 18 years old, in photographs of broken trees and in writing without punctuation. And I've just published Plastic Particles in My Testicles, which is a book addressing microplastics pollution in human bodies, illustrated by plastic-rich analog positive film photography and a short poem spoken word piece. Regarding collage, I've done some collage in the past. Actually, I think more kind of digital collage than really kind of paper-based and material-based collage. When I was a teenager, though, I did kind of do kind of lots of collage experiments. So getting back to collage for me was a very liberating experience. I think I'm going to pass you on to Sarah. Hello, what do you do? Oh yeah, I didn't say where we met, so maybe you can say where we met.
I'll say where we met then. I first met Roelof at the Small Publishers Fair in London, 2018 maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that was a lovely surprise. I was sharing a table with Guy Bigland, and Roelof was behind us, so we all got chatting and realised, we had a lot of things in common. So that was a really nice kind of hello. One thing led to another. Hi, my name is Sarah Bodman. I work at the Centre for Print Research at UWE in Bristol in the UK. I'm an artist and a researcher at the uni, and I also subject lead for the MA printmaking course here in Bristol. My work is only in artist books. No, I think I have been able to make prints sometimes and some stickers maybe. I primarily work with artist books. Collage was something I got into more over lockdown, probably with a lot of other people. I've appreciated it in the past, but not necessarily done it so much myself. But it became something, actually, I started doing during like very long meetings and catch-ups, when people will be like, what are you doing? And then you just have to fess up and show them your Pritt stick. But yeah, the last kind of big project artist book I did was a project called Read With Me, which involved collaborating with a psychometric reader who read objects that I chose for her that I'd read a story to, and then she listened to them and read their stories back to me. I also asked people to do some drawings in relation to an image I was projecting from my head, and then she read those for me and gave me words, and I used those to make into a book, which was a tribute to Susan Hiller's Sisters of Menon, which was a result of her when she did an experiment before, when she was trying to project an image for her friends around the world to draw. So it was called Read With Me, but she said she kept receiving messages back. So she was doing automatic writing and automatic drawing. So my book is a tribute to that project as well. So yeah, so Roelof and I met, we kept in touch, and then back to you, Roelof, because now you're going to tell everyone how we formulated the project.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked about collaborating for a while,
Yeah.
and probably for about a year. Probably we had I know it was casually mentioned, and I think you were telling me about your collage, and you sent me Read With Me, which I absolutely love and love. It's standing on my shelves, looking amazing. Yeah, so kind of the conversation came to collage and how we might do this and how it might work out, and I think the first thing really was kind of really inspired us was a statement from James Baldwin, the American writer and activist, which kind of says the place in which I'll fit will not exist until I make it. And we were wondering what kind of space or place we might find together, which kind of place we might explore to make art together. And it would kind of be a space for us to think about nature, the environment, climate collapse, as well as kind of any other issues or themes we might want to explore together through physical making. And Paul Thek was very much kind of part of this kind of our approach. We used his teaching notes, which is a questionnaire he made in the late 70s for his New York design class, and kind of a way of kind of helping students form work. And so we used his questions and also our own questions. So every kind of new installment came with two questions to the other artist, one by Paul Thek and one of our own personal questions, to kind of help shape the work. And I really love that, to have that kind of framework where, in a sense, you are free, but you are still within this restraining kind of position of having to address the questions in a kind of visual way, which is a really powerful, beautiful thing. And we decided, like right from the start, to kind of work with this A5 beer mat board as our space for our collage. So we would have this kind of consistency throughout, the same materiality, then the same kind of back sort of color board. And for me, that really helped actually, to have that kind of not have to think what size am I going to work with today. And we also send each other postcards right from the start. So we have A5 and A6 kind of collages, both kind of featuring, as you can see from the works you see on the screen, lots of writing, because not only were we making images, we were thinking and discussing and corresponding. And that's kind of how we went through. And it was a slow process, a very kind of kind, nice process. I'll pass you back to Sarah, and going to talk about some of the themes that emerged. And,
it was a nicely process. I think that's one of the things I really appreciated about it. And I think with the themes, we'd already decided from the beginning, hadn't we, that we were both really, we were very interested in nature, the environment, both worried about climate collapse. So those were a given, things that we had in our minds right from the beginning that we wanted to make work about. But other things I think we had intuitive responses to each other a lot, and you can see that now, I think, looking at the postcards and the collages we sent to each other. There's so many connections with colour, shape. I think, just seeing some of Roelof's beautiful stuff arrive in the post, and I was like, oh, look at that shape, look at that line. So that kind of, that became almost a theme in itself. I think that kind of intuitive connections between the two. But things that emerged between us, I think, were the idea of protection, the idea of nature not judging, especially, the idea of queering nature, of nature doesn't care who you are or what you do, as long as you're lovely, and look after nature, and nature will look after you too. So the idea of caring, empathy, not judging people. Also the idea of like a need for action, for us to kind of do something, whether that's big or small, it can all make a difference. The idea of fragility, I think, of the environment and nature, but also the idea of strength in compensation to that. Also sorrow. I think sorrow came through, but Roelof's always been insistent that this it's not a project about making everyone sad, that we have hope, that we want to end with hope, that we want to kind of learn from it and be hopeful and think what we can do. I think for me as well, the trees were important. That fed in to the idea of those connections that we have, what you're reading, what you're making. So Rachel Marsh sent me a copy of The Overstory by Richard Powers. That influenced some of the collages I was making, that also then grew back out into what we were going to do for World Book Night this year. So that helped set the theme of listening, talk to the trees, listen to the trees. So I think quite a few themes came out of that, obviously around that idea of environment. So I think the changes as well, that as we went along, that we both slowed down. When we first started, we were so keen. It's like, but I said the collage, I've got to do mine now. And then it was like, no, it's really nice to spend time with it and digest it, and then learn all the things that you're doing, and see all those things that you don't see when you first look. So that, again, the idea of layering. I think a lot of our stuff was a reaction instinctively to the questions and tasks. That's what I learned to do, to just kind of let go and just respond to the question or the task that Roelof had set me. So I think that was lovely. And I think for me, the main thing was like realizing, I think the project was bigger than both of us, and that we'd like to share it with more people. So those were the changes, I think, that came along. So Roelof, I'm going to go back to you, and you're going to say,
I want to just add to that, really, that I think also it was a means to have a voice, because in particular now, it's actually worse since when we were doing this, but anything to do with climate collapse or ecological collapse has now kind of almost disappeared from the news cycle, and I feel like voices are being lost, and this is for me a way to have a voice, even if it's a tiny voice, but by being together and doing this together, we have a stronger voice. And this is about our human kind of experience and our concerns and fears. And I think that's what I loved about kind of, as we kind of continue to correspond with each other, this kind of also seeing there was a kind of real mutual concern and a mutual sense of care and share and love. And yeah, you mentioned sorrow before, but I think sorrow is an important part, but also has to lead to action. And so I hope, for me anyway, and I hope for you too, it will lead to more action in my own life, basically, to either speak out or say or use my voice in a different way. So yeah, I think that was very powerful, to kind of have like a comrade, a partner in crime, to kind of to be together, to have 4 hands and 4 legs and 2 brains, So yeah, what did I expect from the project? Oh no, favorite collage is next.
Oh no, it's kind of what was it like?
To collaborate with you. Well, I mean, let me elaborate. Well, I would the first word I would actually use, Sarah, is fun. I have an awful lot of fun, actually, and although perhaps our material, was kind of deeper and darker and more kind of, anyway, but the project itself was enormous fun. And I really love the fact that you initially suggested let's collage together. And as I said, I hadn't really done collage like this before, particularly not in a collaborative way. And that was a beautiful thing to collage with somebody else. You mentioned as well the excitement when the post came, and that kind of just the thrill of seeing your envelope and then actually putting it to the side and waiting to open it. Kind of, wait for the special moments, and that was really wonderful. And yeah, the slow process was really appealing. I like doing things quickly as well sometimes, but this was really slow. And in the beginning, we were both like, yeah, let's do it quickly. But then the pressure was taken off. And actually, I think everything we did was about kind of considering and asking ourselves lots of questions and trying to work out the questions that were posed by the other. So it did need some time, and then also kind of trying to respond to textual questions in a visual kind of way from all the visual material that is available in the world and that has ever been made, including your own. Is kind of, if you kind of look at that, it's quite an overwhelming thing. So where do you start? And I think what I love about collage is that it's all about the subconscious, and you have to follow your flow, and you have to believe in it. And if you start rethinking it, you kind of lose it. And also learned, not to kind of glue everything down immediately, and perhaps just come back the next day to some, pieces that are kind of just clipped together, and see whether it is the right answer to the questions that I feel that kind of work for me. I also find it really beautiful just to sit down with my scissors and glue, photographs, vintage books, and kind of get away from my normal work pressures or other projects. So it was a kind of a moment of yeah, mindfulness, I guess you could say, but just a moment of really just breaking away and being physical. And it's collage is a really nurturing activity, really tactile process, and there's this sense of kind of going back to primary school almost, sitting there with your fellow, I don't know, 5-year-olds cutting things out and having this amazing kind of journey of discovery together with the other children. So in a sense, it was kind of me and Sarah at school together. And and that kind of, and the spirit of childhood and of excitement and discovery is really important to keep as an adult. That's the spirit you have to nurture. And I think with this kind of work, we kept that energy and that little child inside of us. We kept that child going in this journey of discovery. And talking about discovery, yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting and beautiful way to also get to know another human being instead of being in a room, or I don't know, sitting in a pub and having a pint and talking about the meaning of life, to kind of consider and think about the other person and think about their questions and how you could respond to those in the best possible way. And then this sense of putting something in the post, to kind of the whole ceremony. I mean, I guess the whole process is one of ceremony of making, ceremony of walking to the post box, and the ceremony of receiving something through your letterbox, the ceremony of opening the envelope, and then the envelope within the envelope, so there's all those kind of really nice little ceremonies kind of going back to kind of really analog kind of ways of being. And yeah, I guess another thing for me as well is it was an opportunity to use photographs from my own archives. And we all have lots of pictures that are just lurking in the dark, so actually finding them and trying to find meaning in them and connecting them to what we were doing now was very nice. And I kind of felt that that was a sense of myself in every collage by putting other places, because it's all about connections across space and time. So using parts of my life from another time, or a fragment of something, maybe a wood from a picture from 1995, that kind of beautiful sense of everywhere you've ever been and everything you've ever seen. Yeah, one thing I didn't expect, that for both of us, each collage was like a piece of storytelling. And we would write, we both used the back of the collage, Sarah in particular, to continue her front collages, which are really amazing when you put front and back together. I kind of wrote lots of thoughts and references on the back, so they kind of became like sort of academic pieces. Kind of wanted to say what every bit of the collage, what its origin was, and kind of putting the time next to it, the year that it was made. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I have to say on this, I think. Sorry. I guess we go to Sarah now. And,
Don't be sorry.
The same question, Sarah. What was
It's
it
the
like to
same
collaborate?
question with the same answer, because my first one was fun. It was fun. It was really cool. It was such good fun. I think it was lovely to receive the post from you. I was so excited to open it. And it was like you say, you kind of, I'm not going to tear it open. I'm going to sit and look at it first and then wait, because I don't know what's inside. And that's really exciting. I don't know what the questions are going to be. I don't know what the instructions are going to be. And I don't know what beautiful thing you've made that I can see when I open it. So that it was kind of, I don't know, really savouring it before I opened it. I think we got carried away as well, then, didn't we? Because then we started decorating the envelopes as well later on. She was like, when do we stop as it's going into the post box? Like, you need to let go now.
Yes. There's another piece to glue down.
Yeah,
Another little
let's stick
fragment.
something else on it. So that was lovely. And I love getting stuff in the post anyway, and I love sending stuff to people. That was something that kind of grew during lockdown as well, in some respects, of like trying to keep the students buoyant by let's do a mail art project together and we can all keep in touch and we can show each other what we've done. So yeah, it's a lovely way of connecting with people, and that's what I like. It was fun. It was inspiring. I think that's what I learned, that college can be inspiring and unusual, and that, like you say, that way you can arrange and rearrange things with before you commit to them. You can't really do that anywhere else. And I love that you can sit and do it around other things, so maybe if you're listening in on a talk or a lecture, or like we are today, or a podcast. And I just love that the practicalities of the collaboration were just so easy. It was just so lovely getting your post and responding to it. And I just learned how absolutely creative collage can be. Even when I looked on I think the Collage Institute, they listed our talk today, and just looking at some of the events on that website, I was just like, oh wow, look at that work, it's amazing. There was a gorgeous one from Australia. It had this like giant mushroom over a collapsing cliff. So I'd say have a look at that website, because that's really cool. But yeah, just that way, that that kind of skill and inventiveness that goes with collage, that you don't know till you do it, and then you're like, wow, this is amazing. So I loved it, and I think I learned a lot doing it. So, Roelof, what was your favourite collage that you made?
Well, it's a really good question, but one I refuse to answer, because I love all of them, and because they work together. I mean, they're almost like you put them down here as a loop, mixing the postcards as well. But that's how I see them. They're really like one work. So, but yes, I will pick one. I mean, I think what I love, and they're all like an individual piece of storytelling. They're all like a book, really, to be honest. So, but yes, I like how they all flow together as one body of work. So the one I'm going to pick, which well, I can't really show now, but I'll just describe it then. So I'll just switch my camera on, actually. Hold on. I'm back in business. It's the collage here. And I'll just move out of the way. This one is called Dust to Dust, Mother Earth Says Everything Must. And one of the questions from Sarah was, who is my icon? And Mother Earth I chose as my icon, and I'll just talk you through the different layers of why, what it is kind of all about. So my search really started with this beautiful image by Gluck, and it's called Volvolas, or bindweed, and she painted it in 1940. A really beautiful kind of painting of what is weed and unwanted. So I kind of see it as Gluck kind of emphasizing her queerness and her otherness, I guess, in a very kind of restricted straight world during the 1940s. And she was at the time living in Plumpton in East Sussex. And so I live in East Sussex. So there was that kind of sense of connection as well. Although I must admit, I haven't been to Plumpton, but I was imagining Gluck perhaps here on the beach at Hastings, having fun with her girlfriend. And so within the image are two other images, and they're both photographs I took last September in Portugal. I went there with my partner to Praga, and on the second day, about 1,000 wildfires started around the city. And so the pollution was like the highest level, like all kinds of PM 2.5 going into your body. And we decided to leave and go to this seaside town called Villa de Conde. But when we got there, it was like Armageddon, and there was nobody there. And the sky was like grey and orange, and the sun was trying to break through the pollution, but it was just impossible. So I turned that picture upside down to kind of create a horizontal base on the top to match the horizontal kind of plateau that the glass vase in Gluck's painting stands on. So I feel like it's the world turning upside down. The wildfires were unexpected. It was incredibly hot during September, so they didn't, it was unusual and rare to have these wildfires. So that had to do with global heating, global warming. But also some of the wildfires had started, so it was kind of quite a complicated thing. And there were rumors that the EU wants to use some of these mountains in Portugal for mining because they have lots of minerals there that we use for mobile technology and for batteries. And so a lot of people were arrested because of the potential that they may have started these fires to resist the demands of the EU. But some people said that was made up. So there's a lot of conspiracies with all these situations coming out as well. And so the image below that is of the week after the fires stopped and we went to the mountains, and the mountains behind where we stayed had all burned down. So it's kind of an image of all the life that was there gone, kind of like a black grey landscape. And then I was thinking about Mother Earth and dust to dust. And my mother passed away last year. So the image is also a portrait of my mother. At the bottom is my mother's ashes lying. It's my mother, which I find it quite beautiful. My mother is lying on Mother Earth, and she is Mother Earth. She gave birth to me, and she gave birth to my brothers, and she carried me. And I had this beautiful moment where I carried her. We all carried her, and then kind of let go of her. And so kind of the cycle of carrying was really beautiful. And so, yeah, so a lot of my images or my work also kind of includes personal kind of references. I really love this image. But yeah, it's about many things. And I think I read the poem, Ashes to Ashes, Dust to Dust. We live, we die. Mother Earth says everything must.
It's beautiful. I love that collage.
Yeah, colleague Sarah Bodman. Thank you, Sarah.
I did love that collage. I mean, that collage felt really poignant to me, especially because I knew about your mother as well. So I thought that was a very beautiful tribute you'd made to her, and I'm glad you chose that one. It is really hard, like you say, to choose one, because even just looking at them, they all belong together, don't they? They all are part of a story. I think my favourite one of mine was the owls.
Oh, yes.
Because I love the owls. They're just so knowing and they're mysterious. And then I loved that you gave me the tech instruction, which was illustrate your strangeness. And I thought that was brilliant. So I'd found lots of little diagrams from an old book about spiritualism, which had like little kind of ways of reading on them, which were really cute. So I cut them out and gave them to the owls. So for me, that they were sending messages from the owls that I was hoping to receive from them. So I just listened. I listened to the owls, and also I loved the owls because they reminded me of Twin Peaks when you had the all that wind rushing through the trees at night, and the owls, they see everything, don't they? And they can watch everything. So that was my favourite. But I still, my favourite altogether is still your one of Beautiful George, where I gave you the tech instruction was design something to sell to the government, and it was choose life, and you had George, and I was like, yeah, that's just perfect. You're not going to get a better collage than that.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that one.
I do. I love it so much. So, Roelof, what did you want from the project?
Oh, it's a really good question, really. But my first thing I wrote down is to explore collage as a tool to be part of my experimental making practice. And that sounds a bit boring compared to the word fun, but it's kind of both fun and that, really. I'm really interested in kind of different ways of using photography or photography-based kind of media to kind of do storytelling with text. So I'm kind of, everything I do is image and text, and I love this idea that there are so many different ways of having a visual voice and so many ways to experiment. And so obviously collage is a huge open door that offers all kinds of ways of working with either your own original material or with obviously found material and appropriation and creating new works from old. So there's that whole idea as well that, you know, you kind of, there are mountains of books everywhere. And is there something, perhaps at least one thing you can take out of those to say something about now? And this whole idea of kind of reusing often what is not loved or wanted, or, you know, is discarded, is kind of really kind of beautiful. From the project itself, though, yes, I mean, I really kind of, what I loved about it was this idea of making together and to be open to a dialogue and to kind of engage in a different kind of manual way of communicating as a means to get to know another human being. And I think it was kind of a way of, you know, a modern version of Tinder or something. You know, it's kind of dating somebody in a sense via collage. So maybe this could be a really beautiful way for people to,
yeah, you might be onto something.
relationships. Yes, you know, get to know each other through collage and then meet up.
Very good.
So yeah, and it's really interesting as well because it kind of also made me aware of obviously Sarah beyond her collage, but as a human being with her own challenges and circumstances, and to kind of be able to have a conversation about all kinds of things is very liberating, and kind of, you know, anything that kind of ignites your brain cells and sparkles ideas and thoughts is always a very beautiful thing and a very rare thing because we don't have that with most people in the world. Yeah, that's kind of really part of that, is to think differently and to allow myself to be vulnerable and to kind of, as I said before, nurture the child inside of me to take risks and be open to failure. And there are several times where I went off on a collage and got totally stuck because I was overthinking it, particularly in the beginning. And I learned it was really about following your subconscious or unconscious and being and going with the flow and not making it too complicated or overthinking. So it's kind of another way of finding a way to tell a story, and the more we did it, the more there was like a structure, I guess, as well in my head, or there was less fear. And I would always say it's a new opportunity. It's not a continuation in a sense. I always saw it as a new opportunity. And I guess also it kind of, you know, a lot of our life is now kind of based online, and we all fall in the traps of, you know, social media and algorithm based technology where we're being led. And the great thing about,
Mhm.
you know, collage is that you're stepping away from that. You can only work with what you've got, and you can actually switch the computer off. So that getting away from this online world of hatred and fear and overload of information to really step back and feel different materials and textures beyond screens, you know, is kind of a really important thing. And it kind of makes me think again about children as well, how they're losing the sense of tactility by spending so much time on phones and not reading books. And perhaps, you know, our project is also a way of saying, look what you can do when you step away from all this technology. And what do you find, and what will you discover? And so I feel our project, well, to me, it's a very important piece of work, and it's kind of, you know, it's another kind of project that I feel and has enhanced my practice and pushed it forward in more directions. And it's a very kind of exciting thing. So yeah, so what did I want from the project? I guess I didn't really have much. I didn't have many expectations in the beginning, to be honest. I realized afterwards what I wanted from the project. And I think what I mostly wanted from the project is just to explore collage and get to know Sarah better and do something fun together. But it became much deeper. So Sarah, what did you want from the
The
project?
same as you, really. No. Whatever you said. So, yeah, I obviously to collaborate, because I mean I I really enjoy working with other people. I think for me that idea of opportunity, if you don't know what's going to happen, I mean, apart from wanting to kind of explore collage more as a medium, which was a given, wasn't it? Because that's what we were doing anyway. But it was kind of, I think, the first time I really properly collaborated with anyone was with Nancy Campbell, when we were commissioned to make a thing, a piece of work, something around image and text. And we decided that we didn't know each other very much then either. So we started talking around things that we enjoyed and realised that we both loved Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley. We both thought it was a fantastic book. We both thought it's so ahead of its time. I mean, even if you read it now, it feels like it's today, not in the 1950s. So we decided that we would do something around this book. So we had the crazy idea that I would cook all the food in the book and serve all the drinks that were mentioned in the book, and we'd invite people around for dinner. And it took about 7 hours, I think, to get through everything. But Nancy made notes from the conversations and then wrote some poems, and I photographed the settings, and we had a setting for Ripley. And we were like, this is really just amazing. This is such a lovely thing to do. And then little by little, it kind of grew into what World Book Night is now. So we went from the two of us working on one piece and then inviting other people. So then we got, Science Side to do the music. And then we started making videos. And the next thing you know, however many years, 10 years, 11 years later, that we've got something like 200 people involved in it this year. So that's what I didn't know that I wanted from the project, but it's that idea of you never know what's going to happen. So anything could happen and anything could grow from this. So we're going to see what happens. I'll get back to you this time next year as well. I knew I wanted to get to know you more through the project, and then from you, which I have, which has been lovely. And also, I suppose I realised that I could do collage, that it's okay. And I think we made some really good responses and choices of text, image, and things when we were responding to each other. I think, like you say, there's no algorithms, so we can just do what we like. And also, I think we said in the beginning, we're not going to put text, we're not going to write on the front, we're not going to include words in our images, which kind of it did and didn't carry on. I think that's why we started writing so much on the back. It's like, where can I cram in? Can I cram it? And like you're saying, it's like, oh, but that's what I was reading when I was thinking about this, or that's what I was listening to, or that's what I was thinking about. So using the back and also using the postcards became a really kind of way of adding it's almost like putting your sticky note in the book, isn't it? Saying, must remember this is why I did that. So I think that's really lovely. I got what I wanted from it, definitely. And back to you, Roelof, because now you're going to tell them about a publication that you're working on.
Yeah, that's really great. We're going to do a publication, not an application. It's nice how it evolved. Basically, we'll feature all the A5 collages with text that we have written on the page opposite, and kind of continues both our kind of exploration of using image and text. I mentioned Sarah's book, and she's mentioned as well Read With Me before. I found it very inspirational. Also, we kind of wanted to expand this idea of collaboration, and so we were both really excited and delighted when both Rachel Smith and Declan Wiffen, who we approached, both agreed to respond to our collages in writing, I guess. And Rachel has contributed this amazing, beautiful poem called Collaged Futures, seeing new futures where constructed blank spaces offer possibilities. And Declan kind of connects our work to Ray Johnson, the American collagist and correspondence artist. And I actually didn't know about him, so it was a really beautiful kind of thing to find out about Ray Johnson. And he also pays tribute in his sort of text to a folks guild on the road, adding this kind of ceremony of love and care to the work, and kind of continuing that message that we were also communicating inside the work. So I'm kind of exploring printing and stuff at the moment, and really excited. But we're launching it at the Small Publishers Fair in October with a talk in the green room, and Sarah will be joining us from via Zoom, like today. And actually, I noticed that Rachel is part of us here. So
Yeah,
Rachel will be able to contribute. And
no
it would be
pressure.
amazing. No pressure at all. And yeah, no, I'm really excited, and can't wait to bring the book out. And actually, I'm really excited about our writing in there as well.
Yeah.
Because it is quite poetic, and the words just add. They're quite minimal words, minimal language, but they add a lot, and kind of elevate our kind of message. I think.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sarah? I mean,
yeah, I do. I mean, it was so beautiful getting the text back because we didn't know what they were going to write for a start. So our brief to them was, don't write a formal response. We would like a kind of creative response, wasn't it?
That's right.
They both did a really beautiful job. Declan's was what, like he says, it was a postcard, but it was kind of a letter, and then that connection with the fox. And I think of the fox in your Some Queer Animals. So those connections are everywhere, always. So that was lovely, and I can still. It's really visual piece of writing. I can still smell that gorse, and he's saying about scattering the gorse petals over the fox was lovely. And I think Rachel's responsive text, like that idea of collaged features, to me that was just lovely because then that opens new avenues as well. And I think the way she responded to our collages and some of our questions with the idea of like cut and disrupt can, even the subheading, so you've got cut, disrupt, imagine, shift, shuffle, layer, collaborate, rearrange, think, question, communicate. She summed it up beautifully. And she picked up on those questions when you responded to my question of the, who's your idol, who's your icon? And you say, why does an icon have to be human? So some of those things like was abstraction, and the idea of a collage future, I really like that. I think that's a nice idea. We should do that. We should all
the collage future is
collage future.
Yeah, and hats off to Rachel because it kind of really sent that message of hope at the end as well.
Yeah, really lovely.
Any kind of making and community kind of activity is a positive thing. So
definitely. So yeah, as Roelof said, we'll launch the book. He's making it, by the way. I'm just sitting back relaxing.
Are you still in Central Pay? Yes.
Yeah, I wish. Well, on my island.
Sipping cocktails.
So we'll launch the book at the Small Publishers Fair in October in London. Also, we'll both between us, we'll be looking out for places where we can exhibit it. I'll arrange some exhibitions of the works around, so the collages and the postcards, because the postcards haven't gone into the book, so that's something extra. And I think it would be lovely for us to be able to show some of the workings of the book, how that book came to be, so we can exhibit the collages, the postcards, and the book together. So that's really lovely. I like that idea of letting people in to see how you've got somewhere.
It's a real sense of transparency in our kind of working process.
So I think that would be really nice. So we'll be sorting that out probably. I imagine it'll be going to a few libraries and things from October, from when the book's ready. We can start sorting some out from then. So I'm going to end the recording in a minute, and then people can ask questions and we'll have a little chat. But this will be the bit that officially goes up, if I've remembered to record it properly. And I'm just going to finish it before we both say goodbye to people who are watching but not here. So Declan very sweetly sent each of us a postcard, and he was saying about Ray Johnson. So this is what he said in his card to me, that Ray Johnson said of mail art: it's not a square and it's not a rectangle, or it's not a photo or a book or a slide, it's a river. And I thought that was lovely because that's got the potential to go on and on, hasn't it?
Yeah, beautiful.
So I'm going to, I think we should both say goodbye before we stop the recording. And then after that, we'll open up our next conversation. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
And see you on the other side.
Yeah, and happy World Collage Day.